Hey guys, Gray here. So today we're reacting to, and I don't know how to pronounce this properly, so don't crucify me, Diana Ankudinova. I'm crap with pronunciations, my apologies. She won the poll that I put up, by quite a clear margin, so you guys clearly want to see this one, so I'm not going to talk too much. We're going to get into this and just see what this singer's made of. I've heard she's got a unique sound, and that she's very, very talented for such a young age, so I'm looking forward to seeing this. Let's check it out.
Wise men say,
Very interesting sounding.
only fools rush in, but I can't help falling in love with you.
First thing I think I'm going to comment on is that the key is obviously very different. So the original song, which I know reasonably well, as I used to play it in my band with my dad and my brothers back when we were younger, it's one of Elvis's probably arguably biggest songs, and it's a phenomenally brilliant tune. I think I've got a guitar here, it's not plugged in for recording or anything, but the original is in D, I think. Yeah, wise men say. I think I got a crappy cover of it on my channel somewhere because it was my granddad's favorite song, so it's a big song. But they've very much changed it around here, which I think it's in, yeah, something like that. Wise men say. I don't know exactly what they've done with the chords, but the original's in a major key. Still sounds kind of sad in places. This one's flat out melancholic. No question, they've changed the key round to all minor chords by the sounds of it. Really emphasizes that sad quality and emphasizes the qualities in her voice that, sounds so strong. She's really got that wistful kind of sound to it, you know, it's heavy, somber, if you will. I'm sure they've rearranged this song to suit that, because it does, beautifully. Only fools rush in. It's along those lines. There's a lot of seventh chords and minor chords, which I'll bet my life it's using a harmonic minor scale, which is, if you've ever played a video game, if you've ever watched a film, if you've ever seen a desert scene, it's that sound in a nutshell. That kind of sound. It's a brilliant sound, and to Western kind of ears, where most of what you tend to hear is straight major, straight minor, with the odd little bit of seventh in it and things, to hear that raised seventh, it immediately gives a song a kind of depth, a kind of far away sounding, this mystical, magical land type thing. She's transformed this song, or whoever's arranged it has done so, and it sounds very different. It really works with the tone of voice she's got. So yeah, that's a really unique sounding voice. Very unique. Again, it's unusually lowish for a woman. It's not super crazy weird low. It sounds like she's using a low larynx and a lot of twang, which kind of gives it this unique quality. It gives it this kind of honk compared to a lot of singers. But I think a lot of that is just that we're used to hearing pop singers, female ones in particular, they really go for that childlike voice where everything's high and bright and not whiny. You know, it's still musical, but they emphasize that kind of twangy sound a lot, whereas this, it kind of sits in a different frequency range almost because of that low larynx sound. If you were looking to imitate that kind of sound, what I'd probably start with is obviously low larynx, you know, not super crazy low, don't force it, and take your time to experiment with these kinds of sounds, especially if you don't sound like that yourself initially. But if I was looking to imitate that, I would start with that low larynx, and I would work on adding twang and finding a placement and a way of shaping the voice that starts to hint in that direction. Because if you listen to her sing, you'll see what I mean. It's a low larynxy, wise kind of thing, but with more twang added to shape the voice differently. She does at points get that kind of wise man kind of sound to it. It sounds funny in isolation. But yeah, I'd play around with those kinds of sounds. Low larynx, add twang to give it some presence and some clarity, and just play with it, you know? It's the best way to figure out how to find those kinds of sounds is to play around with them. Don't overdo anything, don't hurt yourself, but feel free to experiment if you're inspired by that kind of sound and want to work some of that into your own voice. And I've checked out a few of her other little clips, you know, some like raw setting type stuff where it was obviously live, because you can never tell with these TV show type performances. They will do anything to make the singers sound as amazing and mind-blowing as possible. That's not up to the singers, that's just up to the producers and whoever's making those kinds of calls. So you can never really judge what a singer really sounds like in this kind of setting. But I've checked out some live clips of hers, and don't get me wrong, I'm pretty sure they've done something in post or in the effects chain to make this sound slightly more otherworldly, if you will. But yeah, she definitely sings like that. Her core voice, it really is that unique kind of sound, which is, yeah, fascinating. Let's carry on.
Wise men say only fools rush in, but I can't.
Can hear that low larynx and twang kicking on as she's going higher. I can hear two voices there. So yeah, there's a few points I'd like to make, which is, one, she's got a very open and relaxed sound in most of the range she covers there, and she's already covered a fair bit, which is pretty cool, but yeah, it's a very open, relaxed thing, which you'll get from that low larynx kind of approach. But as she rises higher, you can hear the larynx rising slightly, more of like a more normal type voice appears. She's starting to drop some of that excessive weight and lean into more of that twang sound, and the higher frequencies are getting emphasized, which it allows you to get through those ranges easier. You cannot keep your larynx stuck in one position as you sing. And don't get me wrong, you do generally want it to stay fairly stable. But as you go through your ranges, it will naturally rise quite a bit. So if you're singing, if you're imitating this kind of sound, you know, obviously try to lean on the low larynx thing, keep it comfortable, don't push too hard, but allow it to rise as you go up through your ranges. Otherwise, you're just going to break, you're going to strain, and it's going to sound ugly. So, you know, work on keeping it stable, but do let it rise. The other thing I want to comment on there is I've done a little bit of reading on her before doing this reaction, and apparently she, according to some at least, is capable of polyphonic singing, which is where you hit a note and then other frequencies get emphasized and it sounds like you're doing two notes. I'm not hearing any of that here so far. What I've heard there sounded like a unison, and it sounded like she's got some other voice, maybe hers in a slightly different tonality to fill it out more. Sounds like she's got something on tape, so I'm going to wind that back and listen to it and slow it down and see if we can pick that up. It sounds like two distinctly different-ish tonalities singing the same note there, which if it was polyphonic, first of all, she'd be doing something different with her lips or her tongue to try to manipulate those kinds of frequencies. I'm not experienced with those kinds of sounds, I don't think I could do them. But in short, you're trying to position your tongue in a way that you're trying to emphasize higher frequencies than the fundamental note you're singing, which gets a really cool effect, but it doesn't quite work with regular singing like the way she's doing there, as far as I'm aware, anyway, with my limited experience with it. But yeah, if she was doing that kind of thing, it would be more, ooh, you know, where you move the tongue and it shifts the frequencies around. And again, I'm terrible at it, but if you want to start doing some of that stuff, look up singers that are good at doing it. Pay attention to what they're doing with the tongue. If you get good at it, you can get notes to pop out and sound really clear. That's definitely not what she's doing here. Let's slow this down. Let's go to about half speed. Should be good. I'm pretty sure I can hear her voice rise in pitch before whatever that other backing voice is. Can slow it down again. Let's have a listen. Yeah, it's like a fraction of a second, like, you know, literally about an eighth of one. But I'm sure I can hear her voice rising first. And there's an ever so slight chorusing type sound going on, which means it's not coming from the one voice. I can't tell for sure. Again, these TV shows, they'll do all sorts of things. It's next to impossible to be able to figure out with any genuine accuracy what's going on. But I'm pretty sure if it's not all on tape, that she's double tracked here. There's another voice on the recording somewhere there. But yeah, she's singing great so far. She sounds great. You know, I like what they've done with the arrangement. Let's carry on, hear the rest of it. That is a ballsy sound. Yeah, very good. The obvious thing is that her higher range, in spite of the fairly low, heavy, low larynxy type sound that she sings within her lower ranges, she still carries some of that heaviness up, but she tends to sit in pretty neutral gears. You know, like in CVT terms, it's more like neutral or kind of curbing, which is not flat out belty type sounds, but it's very well controlled, you know, especially in regards to airflow. You know, I heard tiny bits of breathiness as she got down through the ranges towards her bridges, but for the most part, that's all really solid, really well produced, you know, very well compressed at the vocal fold level to control the airflow, you know, as you'd expect of a singer that winds up on this level of TV show. Yeah, that all sounded really good, and that's a pretty wide range she's covered so far. I think we're close to 3 octaves. I think I heard a C2 at the lowest, and that was about a B flat 5 at the highest, so it's almost 3 octaves, which is a lot, and it's all really well controlled with her. Like, her lower notes, they were sounding pretty tightly produced. I don't get the impression she could go a crazy amount lower, based on what I was hearing. Like, bits with the vibrato was sounding kind of a half tremolo, but, you know, this singing, you know, it's an art, it's not a science. You know, as much as I like to pick singers apart technically and analyze their voices and that, there's a human element to it, there's an emotion. You don't sing well if you don't connect with the feeling of what you're doing, and that means not everything needs to be technically perfect, but she's well in the ballpark of nailing everything with incredible proficiency, what she's doing. That's really cool to hear. But yeah, I think that's what I was going to say in a nutshell on her. Just wide range, very well controlled, very well produced, obviously low larynxy in places, but with enough twang to make that work. She's sitting in, it's kind of a light mix if you use that type of terminology, but with that slightly lower larynxy heaviness, and it sounds beautiful. I don't hear anything along the lines of polyphonic overtones or things like that. I think some of that rumor, maybe she does it in other performances, I don't know, but in this performance in particular, I didn't see any signs that that's what she was doing. I could hear signs of there being like double tracking or certain bits where there was an octave playing to, you know, kind of fill in the lower frequencies as she was singing higher. But overall, yeah, phenomenal singer. I really like to check out more, especially in a live setting. If you want to comment below and, you know, if you're a big fan of hers, let me know some more like obviously live acoustic-y type performances so I can really analyze her voice and hear what she's really doing, because I'd love to. That's a very interesting sound and incredibly well controlled, and that's always awesome to see, especially in singers so young. Thank you very much for suggesting her, guys. I've really enjoyed checking this out. That's a very unique sound, very unique. You don't often hear that kind of weighty, ballsy sound from a female singer. Let me know in the comments what you think, who you'd like me to react to next, and yeah, that's all very much, guys. I'll see you all in the next video. Take care till then. Bye.